Sorry guys, you're waiting for me. I'm just looking at my bracket.
How you doing?
My visual bracket, I'm in first place right now.
Are you in first? Where am I?
I'm in 10th.
You're not bad, you're fourth.
Am I?
Uncle Joe Lang, 11th. Almost last.
11th?
He's not looking
He's
too
not even
good.
last, though.
He will be.
He's too busy out there.
Installing.
Well, sorry guys, welcome back to our VirtCh studios. It's another episode of Pardon Our Promotion. We got Mr. Matt Baker with us today. How you doing, Matt?
I'm pretty good. I'm excited to be here. Actually, I'm a huge fan of the show. I listen to like every single one as I'm driving down the road.
Yeah.
Traveling from team to team.
I'm excited. I'm excited for this season, and one of the reasons I'm excited for this season is some of this stuff in front of me. But overall, it seems like the role of technology and how it's evolved in minor league sports and baseball in general and in sports in general has been pretty crazy, and it's been getting faster. Like I feel like every year something else is changing. What is, where did we start when you came into the industry, and where are we at now, and where do you see us at maybe in a couple of years?
Yeah, I'm not as old as some of those people are out there, but I've been in this industry now for about 15 years. And really, like, when I started, everything was standard definition, everything was analog. Like, what I mean by that, essentially, you have a control room in your
stadium. Yeah.
Stadium. There you go.
Venue. Yeah.
I'm not meant to be in front of the camera, so we'll get this out, right? So yeah, in your stadium, right, and every single cable that you'd have to do would always have to be run back to that control room. So you're really limited on your pathways in a ballpark of how do you get, can you get a camera all the way down to your dugout? Can you get a camera all the way down all the way down the line, or all the way down into center field? That's always the hardest one to get out there, right?
Longest run.
But as stadiums have evolved, there's a lot more fiber run to everywhere else. There's a lot more like network, and being able to put a switch down the first base line, a network switch, or somewhere you can have a lot more flexible as far as that. So now you can just run a cable that goes to a couple feet down the hall into a network switch, and all the way across in the control room, you can access that. So the point that I'm saying is there's a lot more flexibility now that you have in the stadium.
Is that wireless? So like, how does that all work?
So it's all over. For when it comes to video, the technology that we primarily use is called NDI.
Okay.
It's a technology that was developed by NewTek, which does most of our switchers. They create most of our video switchers, our instant replay machines. And what NDI does is allows you to send video control of the camera. So in front of me, I have a PTZ camera, pan, tilt, zoom, right? So you can control this camera remotely from your switcher or from a computer on the network. So that's what I mean by control. I can pan, tilt, and then zoom in and out. So video, control, and then tally. So green, red light, whether you're on program or not, right? All of that can be controlled over one cable. When I started the industry, it was over multiple cables, and you had to do a home run all the way back to control room. Now, all I got to do is take this one cable. It's a Cat6, like your Ethernet cable that you can plug into your computer. I can take that cable and I can plug it into any network switch, as long as I'm on the same network, as long as I'm like on that same, we call VLAN, essentially. I can see that camera from my laptop using a thing called NDI tools, or now in our modern day switchers like the NewTek TriCasters, which then I can put a camera really anywhere I want to. That gives me a lot more flexibility in that. Like I could put a camera in the dugout, multiple cameras in the dugout, putting a camera in the broadcaster's booth. There's just a lot more you can do nowadays.
Yeah.
And you could do that back in the day, but nowadays it's a lot cheaper to do it, and it's a lot higher quality.
Sure. Yeah. More realistic, and then it seems like you also save then on staff. Like you're going to reduce your staff because we're using more technology-focused things and automated type or robotics essentially.
Yeah. Going back to the PTZ cameras, right? Like when back in the day you'd have all your PTZ cameras would kind of run into a controller, and you'd be able to control that. Now all your controls can run into your actual switcher. So you can set presets.
Oh, yeah.
So you can hit like one button, when their batter goes up to hit, you can hit one button, your third base camera is looking there, and then when there's a runner on first base, you hit another button, cameras move around. You got a runner, the ball gets hit, runner's going around first, you hit a button, they're going to second. So you got a lot more control in that sense, and it's all from one operator who's controlling the TriCaster rather than having multiple operators.
Yeah. And that's the technical director, right?
Yeah,
He's doing that?
Your technical director is controlling that. And they can also have the little joystick and move the camera around as well. But
what I've heard a lot about, and I'm genuinely curious about. I know that they used to, or they were exploring ways to RFID tag players or the ball or something that's involved in the game, and having the cameras automatically follow that. Do you know anything about? Have you heard about that? Any
yeah,
experience?
I mean that technology. It's kind of funny because we explored that technology like 10 years ago. And we were playing around with that, and I think we were just a little early at the time, and we were messing around with that. But nowadays, you're seeing that a lot more. I was talking to Daniel, who works for us, and his daughter is playing soccer, and they're putting a little. I think she wears something on her ankle. He said like that, and they got cameras that are following that. But I think there's. In the youth level right now for tracking, for like recruitment videos and stuff like that, I think we're seeing a lot more of that. And now I can see there's potential it's going to be going into the pro level where you'll be able to be at home and on your phone you'll be able to track a player instead of watching a certain broadcast. You could, that's kind of the future I could see.
Yeah.
To your point, I do definitely see it, but not yet at the professional level, but I know companies that are working on it.
Yeah, one of the new things that I'm dealing with this year with some of my teams are exactly what you just said. There's a company, a stats company out there that's, I won't name the company, but they are getting into that business essentially where we're going to tag youth early on with and give them almost their baseball social security number, and that's their ID number, and the idea is that it stays with them from youth all the way through their entire career, which allow people to track their stats and see their kind of evolution. But there's also on the technology side, that means there's a database of all this player's information and that we potentially have access to.
Yeah.
So it's figuring out what that looks like, and then how do we eventually tap into that? Similar to, Major League Baseball wanted stats and data analytics for their pitchers, right? So they installed a bunch of, Hawkeye systems and whatnot in their stadiums, and now we have access to all kinds of data for the broadcast, rotations, rates. So in my opinion, it seems like that part of it's only going to get better, and we're just going to get more.
Yeah, you bring a big point. We're talking about kind of the evolution of everything, and stats into your broadcast, and getting that data into your broadcast was always kind of a really tough thing to do, and especially for and it kind of still is because you got to understand API structure, and there's different stats platforms that'll provide an API, but okay, how do I take that and then I put it in my switcher, and how do I get that data?
Yeah.
That's kind of evolved as well, and there's a lot more tools and companies that now are providing that for you and providing that. And kind of a self plug, VirtCh, we've spent the last year really focusing on really figuring out how to get stats from minor league baseball, the live stats, into our graphics and our show, because you got to take the data that somebody is sitting there at the desk or in the press box entering the data.
Right?
It's getting sent to MLB. When you go on MLB Game Day and you're looking at that app, that data is out there. How do you get that data, and then how do you bring it now into a broadcast? Major League Baseball, they've been doing it for years. They've got people that are very focused on developing that and getting that into the broadcast. Really expensive. In minor league level, you don't have that kind of budget, so you got to figure that out. VirtCh, we figured that out, and we've been able to put that into our graphics engine, and now we're really excited this year that we're going to be able to show really high-level stats in our show, and not just high-level stats, like cool information about the players and unique stuff, which is something we're really excited to do, and that's definitely an area that's evolved, and I want to see it continue to evolve. In Major League, you're seeing a lot more of like launch angle. When somebody hits the ball, or like advanced stats of the rotation, that data is there, and we're currently working on putting that into our broadcasts. And I think there's going to be more data. Yeah. Baseball and sports is very data driven, so I want to share that with the world. Yeah,
I'm excited about that for sure this year. The ability to access kind of that new information, and that's a huge moment. We're sitting here talking about the evolution of technology in general. Well, I feel like we've directly affected the evolution of technology in sports, because we're, for so long I wanted, how do I get the stats? How do I get this stuff? Like, there's got to be a way. It's there. No one really, there's no one out there on the independent and minor league ball level, or, minor league sports level, that's throwing money at really actively evolving that part of it until, we started really pushing that. And whether it's just for us or not, I don't care. I wanted to get better in the industry, and I think we've kind of, pushed that envelope. And so I'm excited about that we've directly, influenced the evolution of kind of how that's going to look going forward. So yeah, cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you can manually enter stats all day long,
right,
and there forever. But there's, using technology is what we're talking about right now to leverage that and get the stats is a valuable tool out there. So,
right. We can always do stuff manually, but we want to do stuff quick. And in the world of live sports production, it's got to be timing is everything. So we can't wait 3 pitches for someone to update something. It's got to get updated right away. So
well, it's evolving so fast, and that challenges us to keep up. As entertainers, as tech providers, but it also challenges us to get creative with how we can use it. And I think that the broadcast stats are a perfect example of that. It's like, okay, it's out there somewhere. Let's figure out how to use it. Let's figure out how to incorporate it and turn it into something that the fans will enjoy. And two, with technology, it has just changed the way that we think as human beings. Like, our attention spans have gotten so much smaller, so we have to, keep up with how to engage our fans in a way that, you only have 8 seconds to get their attention. So we have to figure out how to do that with the rapid pace that technology is evolving.
Yeah, one of the big things as a company we do every year is we go to a certain conferences that show all the latest in technology, and every year there's different trends you see, right? Like what was last year, what was the year before, but really one of the biggest ones you're seeing right now is virtual production. You walk around, you go to these booths, it's REMI, remote production, virtual, we can do virtual production, you're over here, we're over there, we can produce your show. And obviously the pandemic was, before the pandemic it was starting to get bigger, but really the pandemic drove that.
Yeah.
And you're seeing a lot, our that's what VirtCh is kind of built off of, remote production, but also being able to do remote things, like using your phone, which is a huge tool that we all have, using that phone as a camera, bringing that as a source into your show. And with NDI, we can do that.
That's really cool.
And anywhere in the world right now, I could pull up my camera and I can, Long Island, which we just did an install right now, they've got a TriCaster sitting there. I can put my camera into their TriCaster if I wanted to, if they gave me their code. Yeah. Which means I could put it on, be on the video board, and we can do all sorts of cool things with these cameras. So you got to think there's a lot of cool things as producers. You guys can think, how do we use this type of new technology?
Yeah.
That's
and
out there.
I think that's where we kind of all come together, because there are so many things out there that we don't even know about. So us talking, you guys recently introduced me to this phone camera that it even exists, and I think that's so cool, incorporating that into a show. So working with somebody who knows so much about how fast and what is evolving with technology is just so cool from a producer standpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think so. Next month, Scott and I will be taking you to Las Vegas to go to the NAB show, and there's going to be all sorts of new technology in there. And we're talking right now video production, but there's all sorts of other technology that goes into a sports stadium, like digital signage, and how do we entertain people who are in the ballpark that are their heads are not focused on the field? They're walking through the ballpark, and how do we get content out to them that's synchronizes with everything that we're doing in a production in the show. So those are some of the big things that I'm excited to see, kind of where that technology has evolved. So I think what we should do is, after NAB, we could have another follow-up. I guess we can kind of talk about some of the stuff that we see.
Yeah, for sure. I would definitely like to have a follow-up after NAB and talk about kind of the new stuff and cool stuff. That's going to be exciting. And yeah, I mean, we've only scratched the surface and really touched it at a high level. There's a lot of stuff here that we could dig into. So I'm sure there's going to be another time where you're back and we can talk about that. Yeah. But we appreciate you hanging out with us today.
Yeah, always, guys.
Yeah.
It's always fun.
If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns about your technology, you can let us know. Other than that, I got nothing else. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. It's all about your fans.